There are days when you look at the Chargers' moves and it feels like something bigger than roster tweaking. It feels like this team is trying to change its entire direction. The offense made major changes at tight end. The defense has an interior name that is demanding respect. The league is starting to notice a room Los Angeles completely reshaped. And now Justin Herbert is back in the conversation that separates pure talent from legacy. Subscribe to the channel because today's news truly carries weight. The move that really grabs me in this tight end rebuild is not only David Njoku arriving, it is what his arrival can do inside a room that, just a few weeks ago, seemed to have much clearer roles. The Chargers cut Will Dissly, let Tucker Fisk walk in free agency, and basically told the league this position needed to be rebuilt. At first, it looked simple. Oronde Gadsden II was the promising pass catcher, Charlie Kolar was the big body, the blocker brought in to give the room structure, and the offense was going to balance youth, power, and production. But football almost never follows a perfect script. Gadsden was coming off a strong rookie season as a target, with 49 catches, 664 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That is not some minor detail. That is real material to build around. The issue is that his limitations as a blocker were exposed too, and that is why the Kolar signing made sense. 3 years, $24.3 million, a figure some people can call high for a player without a major receiving track record, but understandable if the mission was protecting the physical identity Jim Harbaugh wants for this offense. Then Njoku walks into the building. And when a player with a Pro Bowl resume joins the room, the temperature immediately changes. He is only 3 seasons removed from that 2023 campaign with 81 catches, 882 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Even after a major drop in 2025 with Cleveland, finishing with 33 catches for 293 yards in 12 games, the name still brings danger. No defense sees Njoku lined up near the line and thinks, yeah, we can just ignore him. That is the part that moves everything. If he proves during off-season workouts and training camp that he can block at the level the Chargers need, Kolar could feel the impact before the season even begins. Because Njoku does not need to become the classic TE1 just to change the snap split. He can play next to Gadsden in 2 tight end looks. He can hold defenders with the threat of the pass. He can sell the block and still release into a route. Kolar may have the raw size and strength advantage for certain assignments, but Njoku brings a two-way threat that changes the math. And that is where Los Angeles faces a decision that is exciting and dangerous at the very same time. This team is not only deciding who gets more snaps, it is deciding what type of offense it wants to be, predictable and heavy, or physical with poison waiting in the passing game. If Njoku fully buys into that hybrid role, the Chargers' tight end room stops looking like a patch job and starts looking like a genuine weapon. Justin Eboigbe's story carries a different kind of weight because it did not begin in Los Angeles with easy applause. It started with expectation, silence, frustration, and then a response. He is the kind of player fans look at and wonder, was that pick wasted? Then suddenly the conversation flips, because the guy finally gets on the field, produces, and forces everybody to reconsider the judgment. Eboigbe arrived with the Chargers after traveling a difficult road at Alabama. 4-star recruit out of Forest Park, Georgia, offers from basically every major program. Crimson Tide jersey, early contribution. Then came that brutal blow in 2022, a neck injury. A season over after 4 games, an NFL future suddenly thrown into doubt. For any player, that can shake a career. For a trench defender, it shakes everything, because trusting your body is part of the job. But in 2023, he responded the way serious players respond. 11.5 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, and 64 tackles. Even with scouting reports pointing to limited snap explosiveness and quickness, the Chargers saw something worth developing. They took Eboigbe early in the 4th round in 2024 because the production was there, the toughness was there, and the profile had room to grow inside a pro rotation. His first year in Los Angeles was frustrating. 5 games, 2 tackles, and a whole lot of time outside the active rotation. For an impatient fan base, doubt arrives quickly, and honestly, the fans had reason to question it. When a team is trying to build a defense with a real identity, a 4th-round pick cannot simply turn into decoration on the bench. The turn came in 2025. 17 games, 6 sacks, 39 tackles, 7 tackles for loss. Now there is a real foundation for expectations. And with Chris O'Leary taking over as defensive coordinator, along with the departures of Deshaun Hand and Otito Ogbonnia, that opportunity is not simply open, it is calling Eboigbe by name. The most important detail is simple. This defensive tackle room needs interior pass rush, and Eboigbe looks like the player with the most juice to make quarterbacks uncomfortable every week. If he turns 2025 into a platform instead of a one-year peak, the Chargers gain something that changes drives. Pressure straight through the middle, and pressure through the middle wrecks pretty offense without ever asking permission. When ESPN puts the Chargers tight end room among the NFL's 10 most improved position groups for 2026, checking in at number 9, I understand the praise. but I also understand why it might irritate this fan base a little. Because there is a massive difference between saying Los Angeles needed to improve the position and suggesting Oronde Gadsden II only broke out because the room was that weak. That reading feels far too small for what he actually showed. Gadsden fit into the offense as a piece that gave them something they had been missing: depth, a play-action target, size working against uncomfortable matchups. He had wide receiver experience at Syracuse, so his ceiling as a pass catcher was always going to be different. When a fifth-round rookie tight end starts producing early, sure, it can reveal a hole on the roster, but it can also reveal a scouting win. And Joe Ortiz deserves credit when he finds that type of value. Where ESPN gets it right is somewhere else. The entire position looks more complete now. David Njoku arrives as a name who can win in the passing game, with real production already on his resume. Charlie Kolar comes in as one of the stronger blocking tight ends at the position, a player who can help the run game establish more physical consistency. Pair that with Gadsden, and Los Angeles does not merely have more bodies, it has different types of threats. That is where Mike McDaniel becomes central to everything. In Miami, he helped Jonnu Smith put together a Pro Bowl season in 2024, with 84 catches, 884 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So when you picture McDaniel designing packages with 2 tight ends, using Gadsden as a vertical target, Njoku as a hybrid piece, and Kolar as the blocking muscle, you can almost feel the offensive mind starting to work. It is not crazy to say this group could change the identity of the offense. And I want to hear from this fan base. Do you think this tight end room has become a true Chargers strength, or does it still have to prove everything on the field before earning that respect? Because to me, the point is not the ranking. Rankings are noise. Sunday matters. If this trio works, Justin Herbert gets easier answers, the run game gets better angles, and opposing defenses lose comfort before the snap even happens. Then we get to the point nobody in Los Angeles can afford to treat casually: Justin Herbert. Because when Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated looks at Mike McDaniel's arrival and talks about Herbert making an MVP run in 2026, that is not just some pretty line built for debate. It hits the wound and the hope at the same time. The wound is the postseason. The hope is that maybe, finally, the Chargers have placed the right offensive mind next to the right quarterback. Face it the way real fans have to face it. Under Jim Harbaugh, the Chargers have been consistent. 2 straight 11-win seasons, 2 playoff appearances. That shows construction. That shows a floor. That shows this team is no longer living on improvisation. But there is also the part that bothers everybody. No postseason wins in this cycle, and Herbert performing far below expectation in the playoffs. And when your quarterback has elite talent, an elite arm, and elite physical ability, the conversation will always end up there. In January, you have to become more than promise. That is why McDaniel changes the feeling around this team. Breer said he believes in the pairing with Harbaugh and projected Herbert making an MVP run in his 7th season. More than that, he talked about expecting 25 points per game, which would put the Chargers near the top 10 in scoring, along with one of the NFL's most effective and explosive rushing attacks. That is exactly the kind of scenario that could release Herbert from an old trap, having to be the hero in situations that are already too messy. McDaniel can give him rhythm. He can give him quick answers. He can use motion, formations, play action, 2 tight ends, an aggressive run game, all of it to make a defense hesitate for half a second. And half a second for Herbert is forever. If the run game truly explodes, if Njoku, Gadsden, and Kolar create conflict, if the line stays healthy, Herbert does not have to carry the offense on his chest on every 3rd down. He can command it. There is a difference. The pressure still is not going anywhere. The media has praised Herbert for years because of the talent, the numbers, and the beauty of the throw. But the next phase does not accept a pretty resume without a major win. I defend Herbert because I see the player he can become, but because I defend him, I want to see that leap happen. MVP does not have to be fantasy. With McDaniel, it can become a serious conversation. But to become legacy, Herbert must turn potential into January. In the end, all of this connects. The battle between Njoku, Gadsden, and Kolar is not only a depth chart detail. Eboigbe developing on the interior is not some defensive footnote. ESPN recognizing the improved tight end room is not empty praise. And Herbert stepping into an MVP conversation with McDaniel in the building is not some random dream floating through the air. It is all the same picture. The Chargers are trying to surround their quarterback with real solutions and build a team that does not have to survive on miracles. Drop your comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and stay right here, because this season could demand massive answers from Los Angeles.